Okay, well, I wanted to talk a little bit more about research. So, part of this class involves you choosing a research topic that you have to go with in order to work with the articles and the research and so forth. You have to propose a research proposal and create that on a specific topic that is of interest to you. And that makes up quite a bit of the work in the course, not all of it, but there's quite a bit of work regarding this research proposal that you have to create. So here are some tips as you start to explore research topics and as you start to think about what these mean. So when you choose a research topic, you want to choose something that interests you. Don't choose something because you want to look good for someone else or because it's a fad that everyone loves or something like that. Instead, you want to choose something that is of some interest to you. Now, it's probably not going to be the most interesting thing you do in your life, but it's something that just kind of has a little bit of interest for you. Another trick is to start finding research reports. And research reports are different than just opinion articles or summary articles on a topic. Research reports are actual reports of a research study that has been done by the person who did the study. So it's a primary source of information, and it's different from just a summary of different studies or an opinion piece on in some place. It's very different than that. It's a research actual report. And you can do a search for these actually in the literature. If you want to do a search on the databases in the library and so forth, you can actually find research reports, and you can actually check a box that says only research reports is what you want to find. And this is key because your preliminary literature review has to be mostly primary sources of information and not just summaries of multiple studies, but actual research reports of a single study that has been done about a topic. And then as you start to read research reports in that area of interest that you've found, you want to adjust your topic as needed after reading the report. So you're going to look into something, you might think this is a very interesting thing, but as you read research reports on the subject, you might get a feeling that there's not a lot of work out there that you can really read about it. But it just so happens that this other related area has more research reports that you can read and more studies done in that area. So you might go into that direction, adjusting your topic as needed after reading reports, because it does have to be a topic that you can find multiple research reports about and be able to summarize and present those to the reader in your literature review. So that's just something to be aware of, is finding something within your interest area, but also adjusting based on what you find within that area as you start to read. Alright, research topic don'ts. So topic apathy is one. If it's a topic that you don't really care at all about, you're probably not going to have the energy to keep going through the research and keep trying to figure out what's going on with that research. So avoid topic apathy, meaning you don't care about it. Another one is not reading enough. Okay, I'm going to ask you to read a bunch of articles every week. And you have to do that for this class. It's just part of the class. So if you don't read enough, though, you won't really be able to narrow things down in a good way to help yourself understand and to do the projects that you need to do for this class. So you do have to get into the research, and you have to read multiple research reports or studies that have been done on that topic. Another problem is broad topics where there is too much research that's already been done in that area. This is okay at first, but you must get more narrow before you do any serious work. So in other words, you don't want this broad topic that everyone's already answered the questions of. They've already figured the answer out. Unless you can kind of drill down into one specific area within that topic that might still need to be researched or still need to be explored. And then another one is narrow topics. You don't want to too quickly jump to a final topic either. So you might say, here's a general area that I'm interested in. Right now it's a good time to do that. But you may not want to say exactly what area of that area or what topic was within that area exactly you're going to jump right to. Instead, you kind of want to feel it out by reading some and getting a feel for what's in that area of interest for you. So those are some research topic do's and don'ts. This class, though, really does help to answer some of these questions. What does this study actually say? So we're going to talk about studies and different types of studies that can be done and help you to understand what studies actually do say and maybe what they don't say by extension. How do I cite sources and write an APA paper? We're going to talk about that. That's a big part of the class, being able to follow APA format and cite sources properly, and you're starting that even this week. And so do take notes. Don't just kind of sift through and summarize and quickly skim the readings on these things. You're going to have to know how to do it. And then how can I conduct a research study? And that's a big one. You're going to create a research proposal for this class. You actually don't have to do the data collection and analysis of the data and so forth. Those things are not required for this class, but you do have to get up to that point. So you have to create a proposal, you have to do a literature review, you have to describe your participants for your research study, you have to describe the instruments that you want to use and the anticipated data analysis methods that you want to have. And we'll kind of work you through to get you to that point as you go forward in the class. So let's look at the course in D2L one more time and just talk about what activities we have going on this week for our class. So in this week you're going to be reading chapters 1 and 2. Chapter 1 is an introduction to educational research, and chapter 2 is selecting and defining a research problem. And there are also slides that I provide that help to summarize the concepts in those chapters. Now, as you read those chapters, you want to go through and highlight some of the key points, because later on this week you're going to complete chapters 1 and 2 quizzes. And these quizzes sometimes do get oddly specific. They can ask pretty specific questions, so that's a warning to make sure you read the chapter before you take the quiz and maybe highlight some things. And then as you're taking the quiz, these quizzes are open book, so you can go back to the books where you've highlighted some of the things that maybe you've highlighted, and that will hopefully give you enough time to go through and find the answers to the questions that are in the quizzes as well. So that's one part of what you'll do is read chapters 1 and 2 and complete the quizzes on those. And then you will respond to the course introduction. You're going to answer some questions about your degree, your focus, and what are your research interests, and what types of experiences do you have, and do you consider yourself a researcher? So make sure to answer all those questions in your initial post, and then as a reminder, make sure to respond to 2 other students' posts as part of that discussion experience, and that will give you a good grade for that experience that I will grade at the end of this week. All this has to be done, of course, by the last date on this list here, 27th of May. Then you'll have some library instruction, and this gets you started with finding articles and sources of information in the library. So those are some things to watch as well to help you get started with NSU's library and finding information sources, which is very important. And then finally, there are some learning modules that you can click on and go through, and this will help to give you some more search strategies and search techniques. And these are some fun, when it says learning modules, they tend to be kind of a fun instruction on sources of information and finding those as well. And just a nice little media tutorial in a lot of ways, how those work. So those are the activities for this week. Now I do also like to warn you and tell you of upcoming assignments that might be due that are a little bit bigger assignments than just quizzes and discussions. And so next week there's a city certification, and this does take several hours to complete, so you might want to plan ahead for that. It's not due till June 3rd at 11:59 p.m., but you could get started on it any time now. And what you can do with this is you need to go to the Collaborative Institutional Training Initiative, and it will teach you about ethical standards for research. And once you complete your city program training, once you've logged in and gotten an account and so forth, you're going to submit that here to the Dropbox, the city certification Dropbox, and then I'll look at the certificate. Basically, you just submit your certificate that tells that you've completed it. And once I see that, I give you a grade for the assignment. So that's something that's upcoming. And then also, I think it's June 17th maybe, is the preliminary literature review. And this basically means that you have to have a review with 7 to 10 sources APA formatted narrative writing that tells what is in those sources. A literature review is basically taking research studies that have been done and reading the reports on those studies. So you're going to read those reports and then summarizing what the reports say. And this is your gateway into doing any kind of research. You have to know what's already out there on that same area. So you go and you do a literature review before you complete any research study of your own. And so this preliminary review is a smaller version of a later review that will be due. And it requires you to get 7 to 10 sources to be able to tell me what's in those in a very organized way, in a way that tells me and organizes things according to focus of studies and the results of those studies. So that is something to be aware of too. We'll get kicked off on reading 4 to 5 articles each week next week. But that's something you could also do in preparation for this, is to start reading articles within an area of research interest to you. So if there's an area that you're thinking, maybe I could do a research proposal on this area, then take a look at that area, gather an article or two, read a research report. And again, a research report is different than just a summary. It's an actual report of a study that was conducted by the person who's writing the report. So take a look at some of those if you have an opportunity, and in preparation for that. But that's not due till the 17th of June. So just a few things coming up in the future. But I think that gets you kicked off, at least for the activities of this week. I think you're in pretty good shape for moving forward. So good luck with the activities this week, and carry on in your work and start learning about research.